Okay, I want to talk briefly about the Jeffrey Carter article, Writer's Block Just Happens to People. So I am looking at your rhetorical analysis drafts at this time, and I'm just giving general feedback. After you have received back your literacy narrative essays, you will see some of the issues that you may have with punctuation and grammar and that sort of thing. So use feedback on those essays and the the error codes to help you work on some of those issues. All right, but I wanted to talk to everyone at one time about this article because I'm afraid that some people are not quite understanding it, and you have to be able to understand the article before you can summarize it well. So the article is not easy, and that's on purpose because the whole class is writing an analysis of one article, and you've had time to annotate it and discuss it. And so that is why I chose this particular article for an analysis. Please note that Carter jumps around on this topic. But he tells you as he's going, that he is his order. So if any of you are focusing on this first sentence here about Slacker, don't, unless you are sure to come back and talk about how he ends the Slacker conversation. He is not calling people with writer's block slackers. He is not even saying that writer's block doesn't exist. What he is saying is that it's not meant to be used as an excuse for someone to just give up. He is saying that there are ways around it. Okay, so he mentions Slacker, and he tells us that he's going to explain it later. And then he gets into the conversation of Edmund Burglar. You guys need to make sure that you are summarizing key points. And so I would, because the reader of your essay has not read this article, and that's how you need to write your rhetorical analysis with that in mind. So you're going to need to spend some time covering the key points. Here in these first two paragraphs here, he's talking about Burglar and how Burglar came up with the concept, claimed to have a cure rate. However, there's no published strategies for overcoming writer's block. And so that's important to Carter. That's why he's digging around in this in the first place. Carter also throws some shade, at Burglar for having some being sort of over the top in the first place. And so kind of suggesting here that, this may be like a made up thing, that it's not, the idea of writer's block is not grounded in science by no means, okay? And Carter hints right in here that he found one little strategy from Burglar. He calls it an anecdote, and he leaves it before he explains it. So you can, by all means, analyze Carter's structure. It is a little bit different the way he goes about explaining this concept. It is a little bit difficult. So he mentions the anecdote, but then he gets into explaining this blank page. That information is important. You don't need to get hung up on any one piece of information, but this just points out that writer's block has been deemed a real problem, so much so that it actually, a blank page got published in a professional journal. He then talks about this locksmith that managed to use the knowledge he already had and to play around to understand, to be able to read a French treatise, So he's playing around and using the knowledge he already has. He has this concept of everything is in everything. He's like setting up, the foundation for how you can overcome writer's block here. And then he comes back and he says it, and this is where I come back round to Burglar, so it's a little bit informal. And he talks about in the notes of Burglar's work, he found where one of Burglar's patients actually played around with his name, with letters of his name, and that's how he unlocked the creativity. So Carter's ultimate argument here is that through play, through kind of playing around and messing with different things that have to deal with letters or words or symbols, that you can unlock those neurons that are causing the writer's block in the first place, that you can overcome it. And he stresses this whole idea of fooling around and being playful. That is the crux of his argument here. He comes back for us and to really like drive this point home by talking about the movie Slacker, and he talks about how in and of itself it didn't have a whole lot going on for it, but it still worked. So this writing and the talking of writing is very recursive, and so that's the same for this. We have this movie that's based on nothing, but yet it's still brilliant, but it's in the lines of the movie itself that further support this idea that writer's block is this, while it may be real, it can easily be overcome with this question: who's ever written the great work about the immense effort required in order not to create? Last line, you have to try very hard in order not to create at all. So make sure that you completely understand this article before you attempt to summarize and analyze it. Your analysis may go, a variety of different ways, but just be mindful that if you say that Carter uses ethos or appeals to ethos, well, you have to show how he does that, how he proves to be credible, that sort of thing. And feel free to talk about his structure, but I want to encourage you to not think that you're going to get away with being negative about this article. I believe that Carter does provide us enough evidence to show that with playing around, that we can unlock the writer's block. I won't appreciate trying to get away with saying that he doesn't, prove his point or whatever, because he actually does. You just have to understand what his point is. I will continue giving some general feedback to everybody, but I hope this helps for all of you working on this essay. Continue revising on your own, and the final is due on by Saturday. Thanks.